My head was spinning slightly. A wave of weakness washed over me, and my thoughts were a chaotic mess. In front of me, a rare steak lay on the plate, and my trembling hands could barely hold the fork. It felt as if I was on the verge of losing my mind. Anxiety clawed at my chest, leaving me drained. I lifted my gaze to Monica. She was chatting cheerfully with Adam and Jack, oblivious to my condition. From my very first day at the lab, I was drawn to her. Monica always had a kind word for me, and her attention felt genuine, even comforting. "Thomas, come on, finish your steak quickly. Desserts are waiting for us," she said with a smile, turning to me. "I'm not really hungry, thanks," I replied with great difficulty. Speaking felt like an impossible task. Every word came out as if pulled from deep quicksand. Moving was even harder. My arms felt leaden, heavy beyond belief. At that moment, I wasn't even sure if I could lift them. My colleagues who had invited me to this dinner party finally started paying attention to me. This time, Adam leaned in and asked, "Thomas, are you okay? Everything all right? Are you joining us for some board games?" A simple question, yet my mind struggled to process it. Time seemed to slow down to a crawl, each word sinking into my head with unbearable slowness. "I think I'll just sit here for a while and rest. I'm not feeling great," I managed to reply, my voice barely audible. "Do you want some medicine?" Jack chimed in, his face lighting up with a strange, unnaturally wide grin. "No, I'm just very tired, thanks," I said, forcing myself to sound polite despite the weight crushing me. And then they laughed. A loud, piercing laughter that echoed in my head, pressing against my skull like a vice. I turned to look at each of their faces, and my breath caught in my throat. Their smiles stretched unnaturally wide, almost splitting their faces. Their skin started turning green, and their eyes grew impossibly large, bulging out of their sockets. It's clear now. I'm hallucinating. At that moment, I felt Monica's touch. She wrapped her arms around my neck and started whispering something into my ear. Her words blurred into an incomprehensible murmur. My head was spinning, and in the next moment, everything went black. A bright beam of sunlight woke me up. Monica had drawn back the curtains in the living room, where I lay on a soft guest couch. "Wake up! How long are you planning to sleep?" she said cheerfully, her voice brimming with energy. "It's already 3 p.m., everyone's gone about their business, and you're still snoozing." I glanced at the clock. Sure enough, it was 3 p.m. Thankfully, I didn't have any pressing plans for this Saturday. "Damn, my head's killing me," I groaned, trying to lift myself off the couch. Monica, as if anticipating my struggle, handed me a glass of water and a pill. "You drank more than anyone else last night, so it's no wonder you feel like this," she said with a playful smile. "How did I get to bed?" I asked, grimacing from the throbbing pain in my head. "You passed out right at the table," Monica giggled. "Adam and Jack carried you to the couch." "You have a beautiful home," I said to Monica as I slowly buttoned up my shirt, trying to get myself together. "Too bad you passed out early last night," she replied with a slight smile. "Next time, don't drink so much. We'll party till dawn." "Did you even sleep at all?" I asked, looking at her in disbelief. "An hour or two, maybe." "That's enough for us," Monica said with a shrug and a cheerful grin. I gathered my belongings, glanced around the living room one last time, and noticed 3 empty 1-liter bottles of rum on the table. Did they really drink all that? Never mind. I need to get home and have a proper meal, I thought as I headed toward the door. I said goodbye to Monica and got into the taxi. As soon as I left that house, I felt slightly better, but my thoughts were still a mess. I had only 3 glasses of rum, and then things started to feel strange. It wasn't the kind of intoxication I was used to. My head felt foggy, my senses off kilter. And yet they drank the rest of the rum, about 3 liters, not counting my 3 glasses, and seemed completely fine. Adam and Jack were probably just as lively as Monica. This was bizarre. Something's not right. I'm sure they spiked my drink. I need to head to the lab and test my blood. I work as a pathologist at a hospital. I'm new here. This is only my 2nd week, but I've already gotten along with most of the staff. The lab is where I spend most of my time, examining histological samples and performing biopsies. As I walked in, the familiar hum of the equipment greeted me like always. I greeted my colleagues and headed to my room. Once there, I pulled out a syringe to take a blood sample. Rolling up my shirt sleeve, I carefully inserted the needle and filled the vial. Then, I divided the sample for different tests. Grabbing the necessary reagents, I started analyzing my blood. After about half an hour, I ruled out all major types of drugs. Strange. What caught my attention, though, was a significantly elevated level of heavy metals in my blood. It wasn't enough to cause serious poisoning, but it was still harmful to the body. Could it be from the food? I wondered, trying to rationalize the findings. After finishing my analysis, I left the lab and ran into Adam. He gave me a surprised look. "Thomas, what are you doing here?" "I forgot my notebook," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. Adam looked perfectly fine, full of energy, fresh, as if he hadn't had a drink the night before, unlike me. "And what are you doing here?" I asked, narrowing my eyes at Adam. He smiled, his expression slightly mischievous. "Keeping an eye on you. You're too suspicious," he said with a chuckle, patted me on the shoulder, and walked off toward the morgue. Adam always had a peculiar sense of humor, one I'd learned to ignore. Shrugging it off, I headed home. Even though I had slept a lot, I still felt exhausted. On Monday, we all met again at work. Each of us was busy with our tasks, deeply focused on the routine. After lunch, the chief doctor came into the lab. "The forensic experts are tied up right now. The police need our help to determine how someone was killed. The body is already in the freezer," he said, referring to the autopsy room. I grabbed my test tubes and tools. My main responsibility was collecting and analyzing samples. Together, led by the chief doctor, we headed to the freezer. The examination began. I took a sample from under the victim's nails, where traces of blood were present. Most often, this would belong to the attacker, a crucial lead for the investigation. Each team member focused on their specific role. Adam inspected the head closely and started explaining to the chief doctor how and with what object the blow to the face had been delivered. I returned to the lab to continue my tests. Lost in thought, I mixed reagents and prepared samples. Suddenly, the door creaked open and Monica walked in. "Thomas," she said with a faint smile, "come with us. We have something to show you." I gave her a puzzled look but decided to follow. She led me to the freezer, where Jake and Adam were already waiting. "Catch!" Jake shouted and tossed something toward me. Instinctively, I caught it, but my face twisted in disgust and confusion. It was a human brain. "What the hell?" I blurted out, trying to mask my revulsion. "Hey, Thomas," Jake said with a smirk. "Take a good look at the injury site." Reluctantly, I focused on the mangled brain, trying to discern what he was pointing out. "And what exactly am I supposed to see here?" I asked, irritated. The guys laughed. Monica, standing beside me, leaned in and gently pulled apart the damaged tissue. "Look here, beneath the folds," she said, pointing her finger. I squinted and spotted something unusual. "A tumor?" I exclaimed, my voice filled with shock. This person didn't have much time left, even without the head injury. My voice trembled as I spoke, the unexpected discovery leaving me stunned. "They did him a big favor by killing him painlessly," Monica said suddenly, her voice calm but laced with a faint smirk. I froze, shocked by her words. Such a cruel remark wasn't something I expected from her. Jake and Adam, on the other hand, burst into laughter as if it were the best joke of the day. "And how's it going with your test tubes?" Adam asked, shifting the topic back to me. "Nothing unusual. All the necessary tests will be ready soon," I replied, trying to keep my composure. "Why don't you join us at the bar tonight?" Adam continued. "A bar? On a Monday? Isn't that a bit early?" I asked, surprised. "Come on, we'll hang out, relax, and get to know each other better," Monica chimed in, her tone casual and inviting. After a brief hesitation, I agreed. We settled on meeting at 9 in the evening. The others planned to head out earlier, but I needed to finish my report for the police first. At the police station, the lieutenant listened carefully as I presented my findings. I explained everything we had discovered during the autopsy, detailing every significant observation. Meanwhile, another officer was running the DNA found under the nails through the database. After a few moments, he frowned and said, "There's a mistake here." "There can't be any mistake," I replied firmly. I always approach my work with utmost precision. The officer looked at me with a puzzled expression and said, "The DNA belongs to someone who died 6 months ago, and not here, but in another city." His words sent a chill down my spine. I stood there, frozen, as the unsettling revelation sank in. Something wasn't adding up, and the sense of unease grew stronger. I requested the case files for both victims. Since we collaborated with forensic medical experts, we were allowed to access such documents. "I'd be glad if you could bring some clarity to this," the lieutenant said as he handed me the folders. With the files in hand, I headed to the bar to meet the team. Deep down, I felt that involving them in the investigation might be helpful. Besides, they might find it intriguing to help unravel this bizarre case. As I entered the bar, I quickly spotted my colleagues at one of the tables. "You're late, Thomas," Adam said, taking a sip of whiskey. "I was held up at the police station," I replied, settling into an empty seat at the table. "I've uncovered something interesting." "Very interesting. Are you going to share?" Monica asked with a curious smile, leaning closer to me. I slowly opened my bag, took out 2 case files, and placed them on the table. All eyes were immediately drawn to the documents. "The blood I found under the victim's nails," I began, looking at them intently, "belongs to a person who has been dead for months." "What?" Adam and Monica said in unison, exchanging puzzled glances. "It's unbelievable. It's absolutely impossible," I exclaimed, emphasizing each word. "But it's a fact." The colleagues exchanged glances. "That's really strange. What's your take on it, Thomas?" Jake asked, sipping his whiskey. "I don't have any theories yet. I'll look into it more at home," I replied. I hadn't even finished my sentence when the waiter approached and asked me, "What would you like to drink?" "I'll have the same as the others," I said. "Keep us updated. We're really curious," Monica said with a smile. "Sure," I nodded. "What were you talking about before I arrived?" "We were discussing the moral and ethical aspects of a person's choices. Specifically, moral decisions that might contradict the law," Jack said softly but clearly, emphasizing each word. "Does that kind of topic interest you, Thomas?" Adam asked, locking his eyes on mine while casually twirling his whiskey glass in his hand. "I enjoy discussions like that. Ask me a question, and I'll answer as honestly as I can," I said confidently, folding my arms on the table. "Would you kill someone who is planning to murder an innocent person?" Adam suddenly asked, his gaze fixed on me. "And no one would punish you for it." "I wouldn't take justice into my own hands," I replied firmly. "There's a legal system for that, and it exists for a reason. Besides, how could I be sure they truly intend to kill someone? You can't accuse someone of something they haven't done yet." "Trying to stay pure and righteous, are we?" Jack remarked with a sly smile, tilting his head. "I just don't want to live in a society ruled by vigilante justice," I said sharply, my tone unwavering. "What if that person was planning to kill you or someone in your family?" Monica asked, her lips curling into a faint smile. "Would you act preemptively then?" I hesitated for a moment, but answered honestly. "That's different. When it's about me or my loved ones, it's self-preservation instincts. So yes, I would kill them." The colleagues exchanged glances, their expressions seemingly approving. That look made me uneasy, as if I had just passed some kind of test I didn't even know I was taking. At that moment, the waiter brought me my whiskey. "To a world with fewer bad people," Monica proclaimed, raising her glass. "And to bad people getting exactly what they deserve," Adam added. We all raised our glasses and drank. "So what would you guys do?" I asked, setting my glass back on the table. "I'm all for cutting and killing bad people," Jake replied with a grin, making a throat-slitting gesture with his finger. "Creepy," I muttered under my breath, feeling a shiver run down my spine. "Want to go for a drive tonight?" Monica suddenly asked, leaning in slightly toward me. "Are you kidding? It's Monday. I have to get up early for work tomorrow. Where do you guys even get all this energy?" "We drink human blood," Jack joked with a smirk. "Yeah, I can see it in you," I replied, trying to keep the humor light. We stayed a bit longer, finished our drinks, and then I went home while the others left to continue their night out. At home, I opened the files of the 2 victims. To keep things simple, I'll refer to them as Victim 1 and Victim 2. Victim 1 was a 37-year-old man whose autopsy we performed on Monday. Victim 2 was a 25-year-old man who was murdered 6 months ago. Victim 2's blood was found under Victim 1's fingernails. I poured myself a drink, sat down on the couch, and spread the files out on the coffee table. I spent about 2 hours going through the details and searching for additional information online. I came across several intriguing connections. 1. Both victims had served time in prison, and by all indications, hadn't left their criminal lives behind. 2. Both victims were terminally ill. 3. Witnesses reported seeing a blonde-haired woman near both crime scenes. 4. Most interestingly, both victims were cremated at our crematorium. That last detail struck me as particularly strange. Too many coincidences to ignore. It was already late, and it was time to go to bed. The next morning, I arrived at work earlier than everyone else. The head doctor, who also arrived early, greeted me, and we chatted briefly while waiting for the others. Once everyone was present, we began examining a new body that had arrived at the morgue. It was a drowning victim, nothing particularly interesting or unusual. My day went on as usual, conducting tests, collecting data, and hearing plenty of jokes from my colleagues. I didn't want to be the one to bring up the case I had taken from the police station. But by the evening, Monica casually asked how my little investigation was going. I decided to brush it off quickly, saying there was nothing interesting and that I'd return the file to the police station later that evening. The day flew by, and in the evening, I had to deliver a body to the crematorium. I had never done this personally before, only attended an introductory tour when I started working at the lab. My colleagues disappeared on their own errands without informing me, so I decided to deliver the body to the crematorium myself. It was a straightforward task, and within minutes, I arrived at the somber building. At the entrance, I was greeted by a man in his 50s. He was thin, with a long face, sharp features, and a suspicious look in his eyes. A cigarette dangled from his lips, and his hands clutched an old, unfolded newspaper. Something about his appearance made me uneasy. "Your name's Thomas?" The man spoke in a low voice, barely lifting his gaze. "Yes, that's me. And you are?" I replied, trying not to show my discomfort. "Marty, where are the others?" His tone was curt, almost demanding. "I don't know. They didn't inform me, so I decided to deliver the body myself," I said, placing the gurney with the body beside him. "Got it. Leave it here. I'll take care of it. Your help's no longer needed," he said, his voice unfriendly and tinged with irritation. There was something unsettling about this man. His demeanor was cold, as if I had interrupted something important. But I decided not to argue. After all, it was his job. "All right, goodbye," I said, turning around and leaving the crematorium. A strange uneasiness lingered in my mind. My shift was over, and I sat in my car. Before heading to the police station, I decided to review the case files one more time while parked. With a fresh perspective, I hoped to uncover something I might have missed. Time flew by quickly, and suddenly, in the rearview mirror, I noticed my colleagues. They were heading toward the crematorium, all together. Something about their behavior struck me as odd. They kept glancing over their shoulders, as if worried someone was watching them. "This is very suspicious," I thought. "I need to see what's going on." I quietly stepped out of the car and began walking toward the crematorium, trying not to draw attention to myself. As I got closer, I decided to circle around the building and head toward the back exit. There was a small window there, barely noticeable, through which I could get a glimpse of what was happening inside. It was already dark outside, the night settling in fully. The shadows worked to my advantage, making it unlikely anyone would notice me. I positioned myself by the window and carefully peered inside. What I saw left me completely stunned. On the table lay the drowned man, entirely skinned. Beside the body were about 10 transparent bags filled with the skin, soaked in some kind of blue liquid. Adam and Jack were carefully packing the bags into a large black sack and adding ice to it. "What the hell is going on here?" I thought to myself. My first assumption was that they were selling the skin on the black market. But it didn't make sense. The skin didn't seem valuable anymore. It was clearly being prepared for something else. At that moment, I decided it was best to leave. I couldn't risk being seen. I quickly returned to my car, got in, and started driving toward the police station. I knew I needed to talk to the officer and tell him everything I'd witnessed. He was a good man, and I trusted he would be on my side. All the events of the past few days were coming together into a horrifying picture that I couldn't ignore. They had likely tried to poison me during dinner at Monica's. Then, there were the unsettling conversations about the morality of killing in the bar. The two victims with strange connections in their histories and the mysterious traces under the nails. And now, this gruesome theft of skin. Something was definitely wrong here. On my way to the police station, I was still unsure if I should tell the officer everything I'd seen. More precisely, I wasn't sure how to explain it in a way that wouldn't sound insane. For now, I decided to keep it simple. I handed him the case files and shared my observations. These two cases had too many similarities to ignore. The officer shared some of his theories, but they didn't seem to lead anywhere significant. Our conversation turned casual, almost friendly. I felt like I was finally ready to reveal more about what I saw at the crematorium and the strange behavior of my colleagues. But then my phone vibrated. I had received a message from Monica. "I hope you didn't tell the officer anything about us?" Her words sent a cold chill down my spine. The officer's voice faded into background noise as I stared at my phone, unsure how to respond. And then another message came in from her. "We need to meet, just the two of us." I replied, "What time and where?" Her response was instant. "I'm waiting for you outside the station. Get in my car." I interrupted the officer. "Sorry, I just got a message from work. I need to head back to the lab right away." I lied. We quickly said goodbye, and I hurried outside. Monica's car was parked right in front of the station. I stopped in front of the passenger door, hesitating. Should I get in? What if it's a trap? At that moment, the passenger door swung open from the inside, and Monica said, "Why are you standing there like a statue? Get in already." My brain froze. Why should I stand here like an idiot? I thought, and without further hesitation, I got into the car. "I know you have a lot of questions, and you're a good guy. I don't want anything bad to happen to you." Monica started speaking, her voice shaky, her words disjointed. She was clearly nervous. "Okay, maybe you can just explain everything from the beginning?" I asked calmly, trying to keep her grounded. "I don't have time to explain," she said, glancing at me. "Take the keys from the glove box. We'll pull into a parking lot, and you'll get into an old Ford parked there. Follow me, but keep your distance. You need to see something for yourself. After that, I'll text you, and you'll come to my place. Got it?" "Yes," I said, pulling the keys from the glove box. "One more thing. It's very important that you don't tell anyone about this," she added as she dropped me off in the parking lot. I got out of the car and she drove ahead. I got into the old Ford, as Monica had asked, and followed her. We got on the main road and headed out of the city. We drove for about 10 minutes, after which I saw Monica turn into the forest. I followed her. She parked her car by a hill, and I kept a great distance from her car, as Autumn's car was also parked there. I decided to move a little further back, not to attract too much attention. I got out of the car and made my way toward the hill. Hiding in the bushes, I began observing my colleagues. It looked like some sort of night picnic. Why and what were they doing here? About 15 minutes passed, and suddenly a bright flash of light struck the sky, and a beam of light descended onto the ground. There was a loud, deep noise, as if someone was deliberately trying to deafen us with ultrasound. I grimaced, but the sound quickly faded. At that moment, the beam of light suddenly disappeared, and I looked up to see a bright spot that vanished into the distance in a second. On the ground appeared a jelly-like mass of green color. Adam, Jake, and Monica approached it and started pulling some body out of it with their hands. The body was thin and greenish, the same color as the jelly-like substance it was in. From a distance, it looked like a skinny human, but up close, I realized it definitely wasn't a human. It was an extraterrestrial form of life. I realized it was definitely not a human. It was an extraterrestrial life form. At that moment, I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead. The strange atmosphere in the forest, the bright flash of light, and what I had just seen, all of it felt like a nightmare. I was struggling to breathe, trying to understand what was happening. My colleagues, however, seemed unfazed. They continued working with the creature, pulling it out of the jelly-like substance as if nothing unusual was happening. I quietly stepped back, trying not to attract attention. It felt like watching a scene from a science fiction movie, but it was happening for real. I needed to get out of there, and fast. I looked around to make sure no one noticed me, then headed back to my car, trying to stay calm. I I quietly drove onto the main road and headed to the parking lot where I had left my car. I then walked to the police station to pick up my vehicle. Thoughts kept swirling in my head, but it was hard to believe what I had just seen. After some time, I reached my car, got inside, took the wheel, and sighed heavily. I needed to focus on the road when suddenly my phone rang. It was Monica. "Hi, Monica," I said calmly, trying not to show my anxiety. "Come to me," she said briefly and clearly. "What else can I do? I'll go. There's nothing else left. I hope this time I'll get answers to all my questions." I stopped by the store to get some drinks. Clearly, this meeting wouldn't be romantic, so I opted for whiskey over wine. After quickly shopping, I headed to Monica's place. I parked the car, grabbed the bottle, and approached the door. I was about to ring the doorbell when suddenly the door opened in front of me. Monica greeted me with a smile. I could tell she was ready to reveal everything now. "I see you didn't come empty-handed," Monica chuckled. "Have a seat on the couch. I'll bring us some glasses." I sat down on the couch and started unpacking the bottle. "You're holding up well," Monica said sweetly. "Holding up well for a representative of the human race?" I asked sarcastically. Monica walked over to me and handed me the glasses. I filled them with whiskey. She sat down next to me and made a toast. "To your health, Thomas." We clinked glasses and drank it all down. "Our planet was destroyed and we had to find a new home, a home where we would feel safe," Monica said in a calm tone. "So you chose our planet?" I asked, trying to keep the conversation going. "No, we need your planet for a specific resource. Metals like mercury, gallium, and others. We need them as food. Without them, we will die." "So that's why I felt sick at dinner? Was there a lot of metal in my food?" I asked. "Yes, sorry, that was my mistake. I mixed up the food, and you ate Adam's portion. That's why you felt sick," Monica said. "I thought you were trying to poison me," I commented. Monica laughed and continued. "You probably also guessed that we kill bad people, but for the sake of justice, we kill bad people who are terminally ill." "But why?" I asked. "We need skin, but not all skin is suitable for us, so we don't take it from every corpse," she replied. "Skin, right? Why do you need skin?" "It's our clothing, skin that can withstand a large amount of metals and adapts well to us. This is less than 5% of the total number of dead people that come to the morgue. So sometimes we have to kill," Monica said. "I found a piece of skin with blood under the nails of the first victim. That blood belonged to the second victim. I assume you made a suit out of the second victim's skin, and in that suit, you attacked the first victim, who scratched you?" "Yes, that's correct," Monica answered. "Wait, hold on. You use skin as a suit? And you take metals from our planet?" I clarified. "Yes, specifically, our team's task is to provide our kind with suits, but only for those who come to work on your planet," Monica replied. "To our planet?" I asked again. "Yes, we've been here for over 200 years, controlling some countries, large corporations, and so on. Thanks to us, all the technological breakthroughs of the past 200 years have happened," she explained. "All the Nobel Prizes are your achievements?" I asked. "Well, almost all of them," Monica replied with a smile. "What do you actually look like?" I asked. "Do you really want to know?" she asked. "Yes," I answered. At that moment, two large green creatures with thin arms, big heads, and huge eyes came out of the storage room. "Hello, Thomas," one of them said. "Is that Adam and Jack?" I asked Monica. "Yes," she replied. "Thomas, you're used to seeing us in human form. You're used to our personalities, our behavior, but all of this is a mask to blend in with humans," they said calmly, very unlike their usual behavior. "In reality, we have almost no emotions. They hinder our logical thinking and development," they added. "All this playful behavior is a mask?" I asked them all. "Yes," they replied in unison. "So what will happen to me now? Will you kill me?" I asked. "No, you're a good person, Thomas," Monica replied. "You can be our ally. We'll show you other worlds, our planet. We can give you a position in the government or a major corporation, or we can erase your memory. What will you choose?" A year later, I was part of the board of directors of a very large corporation. I won't name it, but I'm sure you know it. That evening, I made my choice. What would you have chosen in my place? Write your thoughts in the comments below this video. If you enjoyed the story, give it a like and share it with your friends. Also, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss new videos on my channel.